Hey, good evening. Welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, on a couple of occasions now, probably more, I've expressed the opinion that Americans are extremely hard-working people, right? So now I'm not biased in their favor, okay? I feel that I'm just being purely practical and realistic. I really do sincerely think that they are incredibly hardworking. Now, the reason I think this is because they are stereotypically marked as being kind of privileged and rich, as if the money is given to them, and nothing could be further from the truth. I've seen up close. I lived there for 20 years. I got to say, I didn't find that it was a great experience for me in many ways. Because I'd always hoped to go there as a musician, and when it really came down to it, I went as a separated and ultimately divorced man, and I was a single parent for many years with a young boy. He was 6 years old when we got there. Okay, so I had the life of a single parent, which certainly had its challenges. Now, I did have some incredibly rewarding experiences and friendships, and the whole thing was an amazing experience, and I was there for, I think it was around 20 years or so, and I took citizenship. Now, I decided against working as a musician because I didn't want my boy, who was, as I say, was only 6 then, I didn't want him to be put to bed by someone else. Even though in the place that we eventually settled for quite a time, it was a small 64 houses in a complex of 64 townhouses, and it was very nice, built around a pool, and we lived there for quite a time, and from there we moved to Florida. So I had a lot to be thankful for, but what I'm trying to touch on is the fact that for whatever those Americans that you see that have a lot, they've worked for it, and I sincerely believe that. And as usual, as soon as I turn the camera on, the dogs start. Let's see if they'll stop. Okay, now I wanted, and coincidentally on this subject, because we answered a request for some advice, some input, let's put it that way, nothing so grand really as advice, but we would ask for our input on a man who was a Canadian, and he was having trouble supporting his wife and teenage stepdaughter here in the Philippines, and he was trying to sell his house. It's a very common setup. The scenario is very common. He was there still in his home country, Canada, and he was trying to sell his house, which would eventually sell, and then he would be in quite a good position then, because his age, he was in his 60s, if I'm remembering right. So he would be coming over here as a retired man with a pension and a lump sum of money with which to fund a life here in the Philippines with his new family. But he was struggling because he felt that $400 should have been enough for his wife to work to support themselves without any more money, and she was asking for more money, and apparently was having some difficulties, as he was having some difficulties, because he was on a fixed income and he's still living in Canada, which is a hell of a lot more of a higher priced economy than the Philippines, which is why people move here, isn't it? So I got this letter from a friend who become a friend, subscriber, and Beth and I met him and his wife. This was before she moved to America. So I won't go into details about names and places, and I'll try to edit that on the move, so that it's not so easy to find out who this man is, because I'm really using this as information rather than a personal thing for him. So he's saying, "Dear Terence and Beth, hope you are all well, enjoying your videos," and all of this. Well, I'm thinking of wrapping up my job here this year and sooner. I've already retired from my second job. I worked there for a great number of years. He said, "I watched recently about Canadian man and can sympathize, but he needs to send his wife some more pesos. Maybe he has to deliver pizza a few nights a week for some extra money. A 37-year-old Filipina with a teen is not going to find many jobs available." So my friends, let's call him Mr. M. Mr. M doesn't think that 400 is a lot of money, and he goes on to explain why. "When I first married my wife, before I came back home, I rented my wife an apartment in town. Didn't have a lot of time to look around, but found a 3-bedroom apartment for 10,000 pesos a month. Now, from my own point of view, living out here in the province, 10,000 pesos is a lot of money, because we know for a fact that someone that's close to us has rented for 7,500, has rented an extremely nice townhouse. So 10,000 is a lot, is my own opinion. But as I say, that's because we live in the province. So she liked it, and was close. It was close to the church, so it was cool. She lived in the barangay. In very poor conditions. I've seen it all, and many other places too. And he mentions a few other countries that he's also lived in. So it was and is pretty bad. So I paid all her expenses. She didn't have to work either. So I remember sending her about 500 a month, 400 to 500 a month. That's dollars. Now, that's not Canadian dollars, that's American dollars, okay? So, which is a little bit more than Canadian dollars. So, and of course, it didn't take more than a week or so that all her brothers and sisters were there living with her in the apartment. But that's what it's about. Anyway, it took about 10 months, that would be nice. 10 months for her paperwork for immigration. So when you said Americans work damned hard for the money, that's why we have something. Damn straight, Terence. And Americans are proud that those who've got something are proud of the fact that they work for it and that nobody gave them to it. So I'm all for that. Anyway, he says, "I started at 13 years old, every summer picking pineapples, then at 15 washing rent-a-cars and cleaning buses at the airport. Worked 2 jobs, always since college days till last year. My wife's family has no concept of it," and this is true, that Filipinos do not. It's not that Filipinos are afraid of work, because they're hard workers as well, is my own experience. So they just don't know that for the money that these, what seem to them to be rich Americans, and the fact that they don't have to work and all of this, they seem like they're rich. People think that we're rich, which is nothing short of preposterous. Well, anyway, he said her mom did work hard in sugarcane and pineapple. Her father died when she was 7, but couldn't even feed them properly then, so they were struggling. You know, field work pays almost nothing. It's a tough life, living in a nipa hut, and a whole sad story. So I think I'm still kind of poor, but to them I'm rich. And I am, if you think about it. God has blessed us greatly, and that's true. So he says, my wife has now been working at Walmart for a little more than 6 months. Her first job after coming to US was that's her first job after coming to stay home with Sarah. He says, now I turned the pesos to the Philippines to her, right? So she works hard for that money. Now she says they want money again. So it touches on the other problem of when someone here, a Filipina here, marries an American. Let's keep it to America as we're around that in that area, and then that Filipino goes to live in America. There's this inflated idea of the life that she's going to go to, and even in my extended family, somebody married a foreigner, married an American, went to live in America. The girl went to live in America, and now her family think that she has unlimited money to send, and they use the fact that the American and their daughter is living with the parents. They're living with his parents. Now they think that their son-in-law is living with his parents to support his parents, so that he's helping them out. I never spoke to them directly, but I mentioned to Beth, I said, it's the opposite way around. Even Beth found it hard to believe. I said, it's the opposite way around. They're living with the parents because they're struggling to start their new life together. That's why. So they can't be a money bank. They can't be an ATM for the parents that the girl has left behind. Let's have a look at the last. So she worked hard for that money. I'm not going to answer the phone now, but now she knows. But Mum has been sick, and I've also had to chip in more money. That's life. You've got to take care of Mum, which is pretty well how I feel as well for my situation. In fact, I feel to the extent that I wish that I had been a better son. I left home when I was 15, you see, so I really wasn't so connected with my family, and I wish now that I had been, but of course once they're gone you don't get another chance. But maybe in a way I interpret where I am now as having another chance. Beth's father died a few years ago now. It might be 5 or 6 years ago or more, and Nana is alone. Nana is Visayan for mother, and I count it as being a chance to make amends for any shortcomings I think that I may have had from my own mum and dad, really, both of whom are gone now. So he understands. My friend here understands about the Canadian man, but his advice is maybe you're going to have to work a little harder if it's tough for you over there. But the way that he describes his life in America illustrates what I try to tell people about the way of life in America. It's not easy. The opportunity is there, what they call, or used to call, the American dream. And the American dream was that even a poor boy or a poor girl could become the president. And that's probably still true to an extent, regardless of poor beginnings. And so it tells you that opportunity is there, but you got to work damned hard for it. So thanks for looking in. I hope this, certainly to OFWs who dream of having a foreigner boyfriend and ultimately a husband, it might give you an idea into understanding that it will not, the foreigner, the American will not be the golden goose who laid, or the goose that laid the golden egg. You'll still have to work hard. And I've had letters from, I had a letter from one Filipino couple, both Filipinos, and they were very happy with where they'd gone. I think actually they'd gone to, either America or Canada, so one of the two. But they went over there and they did their struggling, and they've got children, and they don't want to come back to the Philippines because they're happy. They've worked very hard for what they've had, and they've realized their dream. So they're very happy, but they had to work hard for what they had. So for any OFW or any of the ladies that write to me asking me, can you find me a foreigner? It is as blatant as that sometimes, most of the time. I wish I could help, but I can't, because we're not a dating site, and actually we don't have many, well, we don't have any single foreigner friends. Of the couple that we have recently been friendly with, who visited us, one was Barry, and he has now met a lady while he's over here, is our understanding of it, and the other was the handsome younger man who was seen at Vedasto with us, and he has gone home, and we haven't actually heard much from him since. So who knows what his, and well, he stated that his plan did not include coming over and expressly finding a Filipino to marry. So he has other plans, and he has a family over there that he has to cater to. So it will be, and even for the men, it will be perhaps harder than you think, will cost more money than you think, and you really should be aware of that. So thanks for looking in, as I said a moment ago. Bye for now.